If I told you that somebody at, a complex, they're a renter, they are willing to teach people their rights as renters. And the response is they get arrested for teaching people their rights. Here it is.
Why are y'all arresting me?
Unlawful entry.
Why are you arresting me?
Unlawful entry.
What do you mean unlawful entry? She's a tenant. She's a tenant. That's fine. She's a tenant.
Basically, they're trying to stop my tenant rights from gathering tenants. You see all these tenants? I gathered these tenants for a meeting. They are illegally violating, calm down. They are illegally violating my tenant rights by telling me I cannot organize.
So have you talked to the leasing about this? Like,
This is the leasing.
but they have people over them. That's what I'm saying as well.
They're being retaliatory because this is what I do. You understand what I'm saying? That's against my tenant rights. They cannot bar me without a court order notice.
Man.
Okay. So, man, let's leave the building, okay?
I have to leave the building?
Yes.
Okay. All right. That's fine.
Let's go this way.
I live this way.
We're gonna go with you to your
Why are you arresting me?
Put your hand.
I live here on the property.
We understand that.
I live on the property.
Let me say this. If you ever see Black people advocating for themselves and others, and you don't quite know what's going on, either A, advocate with that Black person, or B, stay the hell out of the way. There's a power differential between the advocate and the gatekeepers. If the advocate is willing to be an advocate and the gatekeepers are utilizing their authority to stop the advocate, even the odds, if you do anything to make sure it's fair, put it at full mass. This woman was arrested. She was arrested. Her name is Geraldine Cunningham. She was arrested inside of her own apartment building. This happened in Washington, D.C. Police insisted she was being arrested for unlawful entry. Unlawful entry after trying to teach tenants about their rights. Ms. Cunningham was arrested for unlawful entry, but the charge was never filed. Well, I wonder why. Quote, it's very humiliating. It can be, quite frankly, scary and discouraging. End quote, said Cunningham. Quote, but instead of giving up, I decided to fight harder. End quote. Residents still had that meeting, but in a hallway. Tenants told 7 News they feel this is retaliation for their reports and complaints about conditions inside. For this fiscal year alone, 7 News found 61 reports of violations filed against the property owners with the Department of Buildings. Geraldine Cunningham says she wrote letters, called, and emailed to get changes done and feels she ended up in handcuffs because of that. Cunningham said the Channel Square Apartments management knew tenants were having a meeting in the community room in February. Before the meeting started, certain doors were blocked, and when tenants arrived, police were already waiting. Now remember, this is their domicile. That whole operation runs because they pay rent. And they have police waiting to arrest them and to block them in their own homes. Quote, I was arrested for simply organizing and trying to have it sent to me and to again address tenant rights there at Channel Square because most of the tenants there aren't aware of who to call or when to call when these rights are violated, said Cunningham. The meeting was specifically based around just teaching them their rights and advocating for themselves for filing DOB, Department of Buildings, violations and speaking with other agencies when necessary. Cunningham said this isn't the first time the property has tried to block tenants. About 2 years ago, she said a prospective tenant heard her complaining in the leasing office. She said the property wrote a notice barring her from coming back in. That's basically a trespass warning, claiming she was aggressive. That's the notice that she got. The notice, she says, that the property called the police or showed police. So here's the fake out. She's told you can't come back to the leasing office, right? So they probably wrote a trespass warning. Police show up. She's organizing. Somebody likely shows the officer the trespass warning from the leasing office, which already is improper and should have been challenged legally. The officer now believes he or she has the right to enforce the trespass because you have an official warning. But the warning is for the leasing office. The woman lives at the apartment. So she gets arrested, embarrassed. Tenants don't get the information that she was providing. And once again, the powers that be who ran the whole play, they seem to be unscathed. If anyone knows who they are, please send them to Indisputable. We know how to properly deal with it. All right. So, quote, to have this bar notice and to refer to it from something about 2 years ago seems a little problematic, said Daniel Del Polago, the housing director for Empower DC. Quote, it's likely retribution for tenants organizing themselves to exercise their rights. End quote. The DC Housing Authority states that a barring notice is to protect residents and can ban people who are not tenants from a property. Video sent to us from a resident from the day of the tenant meeting appears to show someone from the property trying to write a barring notice while police are there. The owners of the property allege that they've always worked with their tenants. While we're unable to comment on matters involving ongoing legal cases, we value resident engagement and welcome community leadership. We have worked closely with the tenant association at the property for at least 13 years, and we encourage residents to share their perspectives as we continue working to improve the community together. All right, let me tell you why I know you're full of it, 13-year owners, because you said nothing about the management group, the people who are in charge, and the actions that they took against the tenants who pay your bills. Now, if you would have had some smoke for them and your energy would have shared a little bit of insight about their inappropriate behavior, I would believe you, but you didn't. All right, dear brother, thoughts?
Sue them, and sue them some more. First of all, you cannot trespass a tenant. That's not your legal remedy. You know, if you got a tenant that you think is problematic in one way or has violated a lease agreement, your remedy is to evict them. And that's how you got to go through court and prove a case and then get the argument. You cannot trespass somebody who pays to be there. That's a violation of that lease agreement. And so oftentimes you hear these police officers coming and enforcing rules. Well, most of them didn't go to law school. And they violate things, they enforce rules they don't properly understand themselves. But, one way to make sure that your landlord or your apartment company understands your point of view is to sue them. If they're financially burdened by their egregious, in my opinion, errors, they'll do better than thereafter.
Yeah.
And do we have a constitution or don't we? Freedom of assembly is one of the first sentences in the Bill of Rights. And so, all these right wingers who talk about, strict constitutionalism and free speech warriors and advocates, every time we hear stories about a little man taking on a big entity, that radio silence, let alone when it's involving somebody that looks like us, radio silence there too. So sue them.
Yeah. And, I recommend they seek to qualify it as a class action since so many residents have the same complaint.
Right.
I will bring the updates as they come.